Welcome to episode 719 of Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live recording streams on Discord, or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of my show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Michael Strange and Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange for putting my shows up on the network and having me on there as part of it. If you'd like to support my show, there are different ways to do that. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can find books I've written over on Amazon, paranormal fiction and nonfiction. You can sign up for the Patreon page, where you will find all the content I've already put up there, plus hopefully starting soon new content as well. Or you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment to research materials to travel expenses in some cases. So I think that takes care of everything, and always glad to be doing these shows. And so let's get right to the true stories here. And let me see here. Okay. So this first one says, I live in a wooded area in the northeastern U.S., and I have been hearing an unusual sound outside my house during the early morning hours of 2 to 5 a.m. At first, I thought it might be football stadium announcements, as I grew up near a stadium where this was common. But that seemed unlikely, given the timing of the sounds. Also, I do not live near any kind of stadium. The sound resembles human speech, but it seems off, as if an animal is mimicking human voices. There is also a static or audio fuzz effect, similar to the sound from a record player. This whole thing has been unsettling, and I am a little frightened by the sound. I am also hesitant to ask my neighbors about it, but because I am worried, they will all think that I am crazy. The sound seems to come from the woods or a nearby field in front of the house. What do you all think about this? Has anyone had similar experiences? And that's where that one ends. So, given the location and the idea of some other being mimicking the sounds of people, I'm not saying this is what it is for sure, but it reminds me of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. You can find recordings and accounts of experiences where they seem to be able to mimic people's voices and even have sort of their own, I believe it's called samurai chatter. It just sounds it sounds different. But it makes me wonder if that's what they're dealing with. As long as it never gets any closer, I would say it's probably fine. Hopefully. So, but yeah, that's where my mind goes to with that one. Just some kind of other creatures, other beings that are in the area that maybe live out there in the woods, at least sometimes I've heard that they'll move around sometimes. Other times I've heard they stay, so I don't really know for sure about any of this. But yeah, that's what it reminds me of, is possibly just there's one or more of these Bigfoot in the area, possibly. I've heard that that part of the country it's fairly common for sightings and sounds related to that. So I don't know, but hopefully everything works out, and hopefully that's as far as anything goes there. Moving on, excuse me, to the next one. Let's see here. This one says, I've had some strange things happening lately, involving objects in my small room vanishing and reappearing. The other day, I dropped my crochet hook on the floor. I searched the area thoroughly, but couldn't find it. Later, the hook was on the floor in a spot that I already checked multiple times. I dismissed this event, thinking it might have fallen from somewhere else. I then noticed the crochet sphere I had been working on was missing. I searched everywhere in this room, but couldn't find it. I then looked, let me see, I messed up a word here or something where I got messed up. I then forgot, I guess I'm saying, about the hook being traded, or I then thought, I'm sorry, about the possibility of the hook being traded for the ball. The sphere never reappeared. My computer mouse, usually kept near the mouse pad, went missing. I thought it was odd, and jokingly predicted the crochet ball might reappear. Before finishing the thought, the mouse was suddenly back near the mouse pad, close to where the crochet hook had reappeared earlier. I am unsettled and confused. These events defy logical explanation. Can anyone explain what is going on here? And that's where that one ends. It sounds like, I don't know, you hear about that, objects vanishing and reappearing. It really is wild for that to happen so quickly, to have something vanish and then reappear so suddenly like that. But not totally unheard of. I've had experience with this, not so much with the sudden, the really quick vanishing and reappearing. But I've had that experience, and I've mentioned it before, with a phone charger some years ago, when I knew I had set it down on a chair, because I have multiple chairs in this apartment and I live alone. So I put it on a chair that I never really sit on. And I went to find it one day when I needed it to charge the phone, and it was not there. And I didn't just look at the chair. I am legally blind. I actually felt the chair. And it would have stood out even with my low vision as it is, because it's a wooden chair, and of course the phone charger is black. So, and it wasn't there. I confirmed it was not there. And I looked around for a while, and it was just, I could not find it anywhere. And this was after already having several experiences here in this apartment. And I actually spoke out loud. It felt kind of weird, but I basically said if anyone can help me find my phone charger, I'd appreciate it, because if I can't charge my phone and my family tries to reach me, they are going to get worried. And then I just left it alone and didn't look for a while. And later that same day, I looked around again, and it was right back on the chair where it had been. So I don't know if someone was interested in it, if other spirits, maybe from the past, are interested in objects that are from either what basically the present time that to them are very futuristic. But also with that true story there from the last one I read, crocheting is not. I don't know how old it is, but I'm guessing it's not extremely new, a new thing. So it could be possibly someone there who was familiar with it, who wanted to check out what is being used, and maybe had memories of good memories of using those kinds of items, and didn't mean to unsettle anyone. Just wanted to check them out, and just took a while to get them back. I don't know. It's hard to say with all those kinds of experiences with objects because you just have no idea how or why or who is moving them. If there is an intelligence doing that at all, I don't think that we can really say for sure every time that there always is. There's the idea of just objects vanishing and reappearing, seemingly at random at times. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of that one, but I've heard so many similar accounts, and I've had that one experience with that charger, and I've had a couple other little experiences too with things being vanishing and or being moved. And when I'm the only one here, as far as I know. So it is it's quite the experience to have. Moving on to the next one here. Let's see here. I need to scroll down. Okay. This one says, "This all just happened tonight. My husband and I heard a beeping noise while we were in our bedroom. We traced the sound to the kitchen and found that the oven was making beeping sounds, similar to the sounds it makes when you press buttons. We joked about it being a ghost. I returned to our bedroom, and my husband jokingly suggested that the ghost was with me. Immediately, the oven started beeping again, faster and repeatedly. We dismissed the incident by saying it was rats possibly chewing on the oven's wiring. Later, I went to the kitchen alone to make tea and a snack. The oven beeped again, startling me. I noticed the display said locked, but I checked and the oven was not locked. I didn't even know that was a thing that you could do with ovens, but anyway. I opened and closed the oven door and cleared the display and continued preparing my snack. Suddenly, the oven door opened and closed by itself. Shocked, my vision went blurry, and I had a moment of dizziness. Frightened, I ran to my husband, screaming and explaining what just happened. I am still shaken up by all of this. Bad wiring can't be responsible for the oven door opening on its own. And that's where that one ends. I don't know what the significance of the oven is, but it sounds like there is something going on with it, and or someone manipulating it for whatever reason. I can. It's always good when people try to figure out what's going on with the wiring maybe being bad, possibly. But yeah, I sort of agree. Unless there is some kind of other automatic opening and closing function, which I wouldn't think there would be. There's no real easy explanation for that. I think the dizziness could have just been maybe the act of being sort of surprised and frightened and shaken by what they experienced. I don't know that that's necessarily connected. But yeah, that's a lot to have happen. The oven doors usually don't just, they're not super easy to open. You have to pull a bit to do that. So at least from what little experience I have had with ovens. I don't use my oven a lot because of my low vision, but it's not just something that can fall open or easily just go and close itself, as far as I know. So I'd be curious if anything else ever happened in the house before or after. Hopefully not, but yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that, other than it does sound like that object was being manipulated somehow. So in multiple ways, with the sounds and the buttons possibly being pressed, and then the door. So that's that is really wild. Um, at least, and hopefully the fact that no one sort of, or none of the burners were turned on the stove and all these other things. Hopefully that's a good sign that it's not anything malevolent. But anyway, moving on to the next one here. Let's see. This one says, my husband and I started dating about 10 years ago. He is an outdoorsman, so we decided to go fishing and went to a park overlooking a river. It was a calm, windless day. I sat on a bench near some bushes while my husband moved down the pier to fish. Despite the lack of wind, the bushes near the bench moved oddly. I figured it was a chipmunk, but found it unusual. While sitting alone and reading, I heard a child's laughter. Thinking someone else was on the pier, I looked around but saw no one, which spooked me. I moved back to the bench and noticed a memorial plate with the names of people who had placed it there. Intrigued, I researched their names online. A decade earlier, 2 children had died in the area. It was an eerie experience. Out of respect, I am not including the names of these children in this post. This was my experience. Take it as you will. And that's where that one ends. I'm guessing that they mean that the names of the children were on the plaque, but either way, that is definitely odd. Makes me wonder if maybe it's either residual. I mean, that seems like there's 2 possibilities there. Either it's residual sounds of when children were there, especially maybe if they were there often, or it could be an intelligent spirit. And I don't know. It's hard to say with that. But yeah, I've heard of similar stories of things happening near memorials for people, and whether it's along roadsides or things like that. I've heard of that kind of a thing happening, which is really, I don't know what to make of that. If it's all the energy of people that are paying attention to that memorial as they pass, but then sometimes people that have no idea about the memorial beforehand, like in this case, have experiences. So then what does that mean? But yeah, that's a wild one there, and I've heard similar accounts of experiences. So let's see. I think we have time for at least one more in this episode. And let's see. Okay. This one says, I have experienced paranormal sensations since I was a child. I'd see things out of the corner of my eye, and sometimes I'd hear movement behind me. My brother, who also experienced similar things, passed away about 10 years ago and was the only person I shared these experiences with. I purchased a house with my partner 4 years ago. My partner does not believe in the paranormal, but tolerates my practices like burning rosemary. Neighbors told me that the original owners, an elderly couple, died peacefully in the house at separate times in their sleep. I frequently see shadows moving from the kitchen to the hallway while sitting on the couch. One unsettling incident involved seeing and hearing my partner walking barefoot down the hallway, only to find him elsewhere in the house. In the finished basement, I hear unexplained noises from the back room. Thinking that it was just mice, I bought traps, but nothing ever came of that. Small items like craft scissors seem to move around on their own, and I'm sure it's not my partner, as they let me see here. They are all things that only I use for crafts. There we go. My dog, who does not typically growl or bark, occasionally growls at the empty back bedroom and refuses to enter it. I am not terrified in any way, but there have been some spooky things and moments here. I believe that the presence is not dangerous, but I would like advice on how to make peace with it. Also, selling the house is not an option financially. And that's where that one ends. And so often you hear that when people share their experiences anywhere, other people will ask, well, why don't you just move out? But in many cases, that's not, like they say in that true story there. They financially can't do it. I'm wondering if it is the former owners. Even with the writer there seeing their partner, I wonder how clearly they saw them and how much detail, and if it could have been maybe the apparition of one of the people that had passed there before that they just saw for a moment and then it was gone. So they thought it was their partner, but maybe it didn't look like them exactly. It's really hard to know. And again, you have objects being moved around. So it's really, I don't know. It seems like maybe there's someone there. Maybe one or both of the original owners. I wouldn't worry too much about the dog sort of not wanting to go into a different room. It could just be that they sense one or both of those former owners there, or even just the energy of that there. It's hard to say. But sounds like they have an active place, but like the writer says, it's not doesn't seem dangerous. And I would say it's impossible to know what to do. But I've heard accounts of people that have spoken out loud to whoever they believe is there, and basically laid down rules and pretty much said we can share this house as long as you don't harm us or do anything to frighten us, and we will take care of the house as well as we can. I've heard of that working, but also it just depends on, it just varies from situation to situation. So, as I always hear, I'm not one to give answers in the show for as far as what anyone should do. But that is all the time we have for this show. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.